Hello guys, welcome to another weekly breakdown video. Today I will be backtesting the second week of January 2024. I have backtested this. As you can see, from several weeks the market is not doing anything significant. As we can see here, the market has been choppy for a while now. For 4 weeks the market has been literally choppy. Went up, came down, went up, came down. So this is called a ranging market. Also you can say choppy market. Yeah. So comparing on DXY the bias is not clear due to how this candle closed. You can argue there is a fair value gap to the downside. We can fill up this fair value gap, yes, and we can also continue with like lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, and then a bearish candle to form an evening star formation, as we know that, right? Exactly that. And if I was bullish, if I was looking for something that would be bullish because of how these two candles closed right here, so this is the draw of liquidity. If I was bullish, I would target this draw of liquidity right here. And if I draw the call out, if your direction of the market is correct, let the trade play out. Don't exit just because it came near to your stop loss. This exactly happened, and I've seen this happen a gazillion of times. If your bias is correct, the market can come near to your stop loss. That doesn't mean that you have to get out of the trade. No. Once you enter a trade, it's either hit your stop loss or your take profit, until and unless something unusual happens, high impact news or so on and so forth. So that was one of the things. And one more thing was the bias for the next week wasn't clear, so we'll trade the daily bias again. Obviously, if my weekly bias is not clear, I trade the daily bias. That happens. Whereas on DXY, weekly bias going to the next week wasn't clear on DXY. So now going on the daily time frame, on Monday I was not looking for anything because the bias was not clear. But if I was looking for something that would be bullish, the weekly bias is clearly not clear. And seeing how the Wednesday, Thursday and Friday candle closed, it's literally giving wicks to the downside. Maybe it's bullish, so would look for buys if something. But on DXY, to compare the bias, we go to DXY, right? Look at DXY. Tell me honestly, be honest right here, would you like to trade a condition like this in the market? Please be diligent. No, right? So going on Monday, I was not looking for anything, to be honest. And if I show you the news, on Monday there was no news. And also if I go to economic calendar, Monday was no news. And yeah, now this is when I go to the 4-hour time frame, something like that. Previous week high, previous week low, break of structure. Okay, so the market is clearly bullish on 4-hourly, and also on the hourly the market is bullish. If I was looking for buys, then I would look for buys from somewhere. I would wait for the Asian range to close, obviously. So I was looking for buys from this sort of M30 demand. Why did I mark that? Due to this, the change of character right here, demand zone, boom, to the upside. It was a clean demand zone. There was previous structural liquidity, Asian low liquidity to sweep. That's why. That was the only reason. But this was a break-even trade, or it was a loss, I guess. But to be honest, in the live market, I would never take this trade. But also this was a break-even trade, so it is what it is, right? So now going on Tuesday, let's see what my bias was. Now going on Tuesday, my bias is clearly bearish according to the daily bias, according to how this candle closed on the GBP USD. And looking at the Monday's candle on DXY, it was also bullish, aligning with GU. So I was looking for sells. And if I'm looking for sales, I will look for some sort of market structure shift. So on the 4-hourly, this was the low that caused this high. There was no market structure shift. Even on EU, there was no market structure shift. But I don't show EU to you guys. Obviously, I compare GU with EU, but in this case, I will not, because it will take a lot of time, and I don't have that much time right now. And going on Tuesday, I was looking for sales, right? So I guess there was no sales. There was no sell opportunities on Tuesday, because also there was news, I believe. Yep, there was news on Tuesday. As you can see, there was London session news, and whenever there is London session news, it's not high probability to trade according to the back test before. For now, it is 2025. As you can see, 23 April 2025, I am doing the back test, and now Trump is in power and the markets are literally different. But obviously we are back testing, so before the market used to do like that. So Tuesday I didn't trade it. I didn't like what I saw in the market. So now going on Wednesday, my bias is clearly bearish again, targeting this draw of liquidity on daily time frame. But also we have to keep in mind that the market can go up, rebalance the price, and then continue up. Whereas if I show you DXY, it's the same sort of thing on DXY. Even on DXY, the market can rebalance the price, come down, rebalance the price, and then go up. And also I can spot a fair value gap fill. The market has filled up this fair value gap, right? After filling up this fair value gap, it has not shown any signs of rejection. So obviously the market has not shown any signs of rejection. So when the market doesn't show rejection, we are no one to look for sales from there. So it is what it is. Now going on Wednesday, I was looking for sales again. So this is when I go to the 4-hour time frame to look for any market structure shift. So also on the 4-hourly, there was a market structure shift here. As you can see, this was the low that caused this high. Here, this was the break of structure on the 4-hourly. Here, right? You can spot it. So now the market is clearly bearish, even in the lower time frames, aligned with the higher time frame bias, being bearish on the daily time frame. So this is when I look for sales on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, the Asian range closed something like this. So obviously I wait for the Asian range to close. And after the Asian range closed, I was looking to sell from this M30 supply. There was an M30 supply. You can argue there was a daily fair value gap right there. There was a supply right here, right? But according to the Asian range, whichever supply is the closest and cleanest, we mark that. So this was the supply zone I was looking for. So obviously I didn't took the trade here because it was not looking nice. That's why. And on Wednesday there was CPI. Okay, on Wednesday there was CPI. So CPI went up and it was not a high probability day to trade again, but due to the market came to our marked zone and everything was looking good, I tried a trade which was a break-even trade again, 1:2. So 2 break-even trades in a row. So now this is when I go to Thursday. This week was a very high impact driven news week, so obviously not a high probability week to trade. And also now, as I told you, right, the market can do two things: can continue down or can come up, fill up the fair value gap. Okay, sorry, rebalance the price. So the price now has left a small fair value gap on the daily time frame. So next day, what it can do is go and fill up the fair value gap, and we can monitor this zone if the price is respecting this zone or not. That is basically what we are doing in the markets. So on Thursday there was also no news. So Thursday was a high probability day, the only high probability day I could look for. So also the 4-hourly has changed character here. As you can see, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, higher highs. So this was the market structure shift on the 4-hourly. So there will also be a demand right there. So on the hourly there was a demand here. We can argue somewhere around here. So this is when I wait for the Asian range to close. So the Asian range closed something like this. So this is when marking a demand zone here would be invalid, because the Asian range is here. What are the probabilities that the market will go all the way down there and then continue up? But it makes sense to me for the market to go up, right? So this is when I go to the lower time frames, like 15 minutes, to look for price action and mark the most better zones. So obviously London session did nothing. I didn't took the trade. Okay, so on Thursday I didn't trade it because of how the price action was. I was looking for buys, but the buys didn't happen, and also there was no fair value gap reaction. So London session did fuck all, as you can see, didn't do nothing, and my weekly bias is also not clear. This is the after I started back testing, yeah, from 2023 July. This is the worst position. December to January transition was the worst. Literally no trades and very, very losing trades. Whereas other months we were profitable. Other months we were basically profitable. And now this is when I start to go on Friday, looking for trades on Friday. So going on Friday, my bias was the fair value gap has now filled 70 to 80%. So now, still now it is not showing any kind of reversal, any kind of rejection. So going on Friday, I was looking for buys again because I'm trading the daily bias and aligning it with DXY. Even DXY was going up. So Friday was a very, very tricky day because DXY was going up, GBP USD was going up, and even EU was going up. So these are the conditions. You wanna close your laptop and then do some other things, but also this is back testing. So let's see what happens. GBP, there was news on 12:30, so that basically tells us not to trade. But if I was looking for something that would be buys, you guys know the drill by now. and obviously until and unless the Asian range closes, can't do nothing. Asian range closed, I was looking for nothing, to be honest. Yeah, I didn't look for nothing because there was also news at our timing that we trade, and also on New York there was news, and basically that was it. That was it. So this was a very tricky week to trade. You may be thinking that, look, many traders will think like they are bad traders in this case of scenario, but no, you are not a bad trader. The market conditions are not good at the moment. You should have the patience enough. You should be patient enough to be enable to be knowing that this is not the condition you want to trade. Obviously you are backtesting, you will backtest it, but yeah, this was a very bad week, or you can say a very tricky week to trade, but we got to learn a lot of things, so it is what it is. Let's see from when the market will again start to catch its momentum.